Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Idahoan Show. Today is our next philosophical episode. You may recall in our last philosophical episode we had attempted to derive a biblical answer for the question, who is God? Today we'd like to try and do the same for the question of who is man? Now in Genesis chapter 1 verse 26 it is written, "And God said, Let us make man in our own image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God made man in his own image, in the image of God created he him." So man is made in the image of God. But what does that really mean? Well, based on my reading of the scriptures, I would conjecture that that means man is created to glorify God by reflecting his image, his likeness, his character. So, in what ways does man reflect the image or nature or character of God? Well, think back to what we said in our last philosophical episode about the nature of God. We said first and foremost that God is. God defines reality, he defines existence. And of course, that implies that he also defines true logic, because all statements of formal logic can be expressed in terms of existence. Man clearly does not define existence. He doesn't define his own reality. But man, I think, does have an awareness of reality, an ability to recognize existence that is unique among the physical creation. We may call it human consciousness or self-awareness. I've heard it go by different names. I believe the most philosophically correct way to put it is probably the ability to recognize existence or awareness of reality. But whatever we call it, it's this capacity to recognize existence that facilitates human capacity for logic and also human appreciation for truth. Second, we had said that God is loving. In fact, that God defines love by his character. Now, again, man does not define love, but man clearly has a capacity for love, and I would posit even a need to express it. There's probably a lot we could say about this topic, and I don't really want to go off on that right now. Maybe I'll save that for a separate episode. But suffice it to say that this is another way in which man bears the image of God. Third, and we didn't talk about this as much in the last episode, but God is the creator. And so too, man has a capacity for creativity. Man cannot create out of nothing, as God can, but man clearly does have a capacity for creative activity and indeed even a need to express creativity. Of course, different people express their creativity in different ways. Some express it through the venues of engineering, designing systems, solving problems, making things work. That, to my mind, is probably one of the highest forms of creativity, but it's certainly not the only form. There's also what we might call the conservative arts, taking those engineering drawings and making them a reality, building things, whether it's construction work, carpentry, woodworking, metalworking, plumbing, pipe fitting, electrical work. All those trades require a great deal of creativity to be done well. And certainly that can be an outlet for human creativity. And yet, while some people build physical structures, others build organizations, businesses, families, other types of institutions. We might call those the organizational arts, if you will. Finally, I guess we should mention the liberal arts. Here I think we need to be careful because, if someone is just splattering paint randomly on a surface and calling that art, a monkey can do that. That doesn't require any human creativity. And so that may not be a legitimate form of art in my view. But certainly things like painting, writing, drawing, sculpting, filmmaking can be legitimate outlets for human creativity when used appropriately. And finally, God is not boring. We look around at the incredible diversity of creation with all of its dramatically powerful phenomena, from supernovae explosions to lightning storms to plate tectonics, and it's just inconceivable that the God who created all that and who made man in his own image to reflect his image, to bring glory to his name by reflecting his image, would expect man to live or to lead a boring, stereotypical life. And yet, tragically, I'm afraid that there are some churches that teach exactly that. They claim to believe that God created the universe. They claim to believe that God made man in his own image, but then they teach that man should lead sort of a boring, stereotypical life. And so if you think that Christianity is boring, then let me tell you, someone has been lying to you about what Christianity is really all about. Men were made to be logical, loving, creative, adventuresome, and so to glorify God by reflecting his image.